Welcome to another Walter Football video. I'm Charlie Campbell, Senior Draft Analyst. So today I'm getting into predictions for the 2020 season. Doesn't quite feel like the season's right upon us, but it's less than 2 weeks away. No preseason games, so this year has a different feel. And it's also going to feel different because we have another new wildcard team going into the postseason. So today I thought I'd get into my predictions. I'm going to start with the NFC here. Here's the team, my kind of playoff snub that I almost included into my predictions, and that's the Atlanta Falcons. I think Atlanta's going to score a lot of points this year. I think Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, they'll be in for big years. Wouldn't be surprised if Hayden Hurst has a breakout year. The offensive line, I think, is going to be better with more experience. I think Matt Ryan's going to have a big year. But the reason why I have them as a snub is I think defensively, the corners, it's just too young, too inexperienced there in that division. I think that's going to be a problem. And I think the pass rush could be a little hit and miss. Now, I do really like the hire of Raheem Morris as defensive coordinator. I think that was a smart move. I've seen him get good defensive play out of smoke and mirrors in the 2010 Bucs when they won 10 games with Josh Freeman at quarterback, and they had hardly any good talent on that defense. So Raheem Morris is really smart. He's gonna do a good job there, but I think they're a little short on the talent. So in the 7th seed, I am gonna go with the Bucs here. Now, a lot of people are higher on the Bucs because of Tom Brady, have them going far, and Walt had them winning the Super Bowl in his season preview. I'm not quite as high on them. I do like them to end their playoffs drought. Last time they went to the playoffs was 2007, so they have the second longest streak of missing out in the NFL. Only the Browns have had a longer streak of ineptitude in the postseason. But the Bucs, I think they're going to start out really hot this year. I think you'll see them click on all cylinders in the early portion of the year. But I think down the stretch, I could see them fading for a few reasons. One, I think Tom Brady, last year when I watched the Patriots, I really thought the age factor was starting to show with him, just in the arm strength. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking good at the beginning of this season, but as the year goes on, the arm starts to fade, and they're also old on the defensive line. I think they're relying on some old players there. That's a dangerous place to be, and I think the depth on the offensive line and defensive line is a concern for Tampa Bay. So I think they'll start out hot, kind of back into the playoffs, but at least get to the postseason, which will be a welcome change for Bucs fans. 6th seed, I have the 49ers. The reason why I think the 49ers take a step back is we've seen that it's just for decades now, teams that lose the Super Bowl seem to take a step back the next year. And I think trading DeForest Buckner is really going to hurt them. Last year when watching the 49ers, I thought he was the best player on the team. I know Nick Bosa had that great rookie season, but the disruption that Buckner was causing at the point of attack was just phenomenal. And I think Javon Kinlaw will be a really good replacement in time, but he's a rookie. And the rookies, I think it's going to be a tough year for rookies in the NFL, having to just jump right in, no preseason games, no mandatory minicamp, no OTAs. I think it's going to be a harder year on young players in the NFL this year. So I have the 49ers and also Jimmy Garoppolo. I think teams kind of figured him out towards the end last year, so I could see them taking a step back and being more of a wild card team this year. I have the Packers as another wild card team. I think Aaron Rodgers showed a little signs of age last year. I think that'll continue, but I really didn't like that they didn't resolve some of the receiving issues they've had. Didn't help and get him more weapons this offseason, anything of note really, I should say. But I think that they have enough continuity and enough talent on that roster where they're still going to be in the postseason, assuming Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, and that's the big if always when you're talking about Green Bay. Vikings, I have it the 4th seed. I think Minnesota, they just play such a disciplined brand of football. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a huge year being in a contract year. I think you'll see the best out of him. I think Gary Kubiak does a really good job with that young offensive line, building some improvement there and having a good, solid running game. And I think Kirk Cousins will be good enough to get him to the playoffs, but not good enough to advance deep into the playoffs. Maybe win one game and then lose in the second round, similar to last year. I just don't think Kirk Cousins is a championship quarterback. I think he has that ceiling of getting to the postseason, but not winning in the postseason. And they had a lot of change on defense, too, lost a lot of veterans. So in this challenging offseason, that's going to be harder to deal with. 3rd seed Eagles, I think Carson Wentz will have a really good season for Philadelphia. I think he's going to help mask some of the issues, the inexperience at receiver, some changing pieces on the offensive line. I think Miles Sanders has a really good season. Defensively, I think they're pretty solid. I think the depth is a bit of a concern, but I think the Eagles are going to win that division. I like them as the 3rd seed. Seattle, I have as the 2nd seed. I think they're going to have a really good season. I've been tempted to pick them for the Super Bowl. I think Russell Wilson is just playing at an insanely good level, super efficient. I think DK Metcalf is going to have a big year. And defensively, I think they're better, but I still think the coverage and the secondary is a concern even after the Jamal Adams trade. I just was not impressed with the cornerback play out of Seattle last year, aside from Shaq Griffin. And I think the pass rush, they kind of filled some of the issues there with a variety of guys, but I don't think they really have that kind of disruptive franchise player up front that really can make things go for the other players. So I could see Seattle being really good but falling short. And my number 1 team in the NFC is the Saints. I love the depth on the Saints roster. I think their backup safeties are better than some teams' starting safeties. I think they have really good depth at quarterback once again, so if Drew Brees goes down and misses a month, they're going to be okay. Alvin Kamara's in a contract year. I think you're going to get a big year out of him. I think the receivers are better. I think Emmanuel Sanders helps them a lot. So I like the Saints in the NFC. I think they're going to be the team that's playing in Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl out of the NFC. AFC, my snub is the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be really good on offense. I think Darren Waller is going to have a huge year. Last year, he was essentially a rookie, and he was one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So I think this year he'll only be better. And another year with Derek Carr, I think the young receivers are going to help them. They're going to be better offensively. Another year with Josh Jacobs. And I think the offensive line is really good. But defensively, I think they're improved, but I think they're kind of missing a guy that really can make things happen for them and be a dominant player up front. I think if they signed Jadeveon Clowney, that would be huge for the team, and I really think that would be a big addition for them. But I think defensively, they're just going to give up too many points and put too much pressure on the offense. So I see them as challenging for the postseason, but maybe not getting in, being that last team that misses out. My 7th seed, I like the Colts. I think that they've built a really good roster there. This regime, their offensive line is awesome. They got a 3-headed monster in the backfield with Mack, Taylor, and Hines. I think they're going to run the ball extremely well. I think the passing game will be better this year, but from what I watched last year, Phillip Rivers was really declining. So I don't think the quarterback play will be quite good enough to go deep into the postseason. But I think they have a really good roster, and I like them to get back into the playoffs. 6th seed, I like Denver, kind of my surprise team this year. I think they have a really good roster. The offense is young and talented. It has depth at running back, receiver, tight end. I think Drew Lock is going to take a big step forward in year 2. The offensive line is the question mark there, but I like Denver's ability to make a run into the postseason this year. I think the defense is going to be really good, rack up a lot of sacks, and I think the secondary is better than what it was last year. I like the Steelers in the 5th spot. The Steelers, it's all dependent on Big Ben staying healthy. I think he does enough for them to get to the playoffs this year. But I don't see them going deep into the playoffs because I don't think they quite have the same firepower on offense that they've had in past years. So see them more as a wild card team. I like the Titans in the 4th spot. Just another good, well-coached team by Mike Vrabel. I like the way how physical they play on both sides of the ball, and obviously Derrick Henry brings that element to the offense, but they gave him a lot of work last year, so I could see him fading some down the stretch of this season and in the playoffs where they might not be able to get on that playoff roll like they did last year. And also pass rush. I think they're another team that should really be trying to sign Clowney right now because I think they need that edge presence. The guys they have there are okay, but I think they really need a stud on the edge to help them cause some more pass rush issues, help the other rushers, and help the guys on the inside. Now, 3rd seed, I like the Bills. I think the Bills are going to be a really tough team this year. Sean McDermott does a great job there. Their GM, Bean, and Dan Morgan, and the whole front office there has just done an amazing job of stocking that team with talent. And not necessarily superstar names everywhere, but just good football players, fundamental football players. And when you watch the Bills last year, I mean, they just executed so well. The fundamentals of the game were really impressive when I watched them. So I think they're going to play solid defense. They're going to run the ball well. I think they'll pass well enough to start winning against playoff teams. Almost beat the Texans last year. So I definitely think the Bills are on the rise. I think they're going to be one of the top teams in the AFC. Chiefs I have in the 2nd seed. Obviously, the Chiefs are just stocked with great talent on both sides of the ball, especially on offense. But as we've seen, Super Bowl teams, everyone's gunning for them. No one takes them lightly. It's a lot tougher the next year. And gosh, what the last Super Bowl team to repeat that wasn't the Patriots was the Broncos back in the 90s with John Elway at quarterback. So it's been a long time since we've had a non-Tom Brady, Bill Belichick team repeat as Super Bowl champs. So as a result, I think things just go against them this year, but I would not be at all surprised to see Pat Mahomes win a few more Lombardis in the not-too-distant future here. My number 1 seed in the AFC, I like the Ravens. I just think that roster is excellent from top to bottom. I think they have a lot of good depth on both sides of the ball. I really like what they did this offseason with Calais Campbell. I think that's a big improvement for them up front, and Derek Wolfe. I think that's going to help their edge rushers to have a better season, and they have really good coverage. I think offensively, their young receivers are going to be better. They have depth in the backfield. I love the Dobbins pick for that offense to go behind Mark Ingram, and with Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to be better this year than he was last year. So I like the Ravens to win it in the AFC. And then when we're looking at the Super Bowl down here in Tampa Bay, I like the Ravens and the Saints, and I'm going to take the Ravens there. I've gone back and forth on it, but I think the Ravens have a little more youth on their side that I think will play well late in the season, and I definitely think that they're going to be an exciting team to watch, as are the Saints. But I like the Ravens over the Saints. That's my 2020 prediction. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be back with you soon. Follow me on Twitter at Draft Campbell. Follow Walt on Twitter at Walter Football. Please like and share the video. Please hit the subscribe bell and notification bell. Help us out, grow the channel. We really appreciate it, and I'll be back with you soon.